My name is Arthur Finch. I am 78 years old, and I am sitting in an empty house. I lost everything because of one stupid decision. My furniture is gone. My peace is gone. The silence in this room is the loudest sound I've ever heard. I had a good life, a secure retirement, and I threw it away. I'm telling you this, so maybe you won't. Let me tell you what happened. It started 8 years ago. I was 72, retired, and comfortable. My wife Eleanor and I had our pension, Social Security, and savings. We lived in Cedar Brook. Our life was quiet and full. We gardened. We went to the library. Every Wednesday we had dinner with our daughter Clara and her family. We never worried about money, not once. We thought we were safe. That feeling of safety, that was the problem. It made me soft. Then a man moved onto our street, Julian Thorne. He was younger, always dressed sharp. We met at the community garden. He was friendly. He'd talk about the economy, about inflation. "Arthur," he'd say, "your money in those mutual funds isn't growing. It's sleeping. And every year it sleeps, it loses value." He made our careful plan sound foolish. He wasn't selling anything, he said, just talking between friends. I started to believe him. The big change happened at a barbecue at his house. He had a few of us over, all retired folks. He served fancy beer. Then he told us about his opportunity, a private fund investing in retirement homes. Demographic certainty, he called it. The numbers he showed us, they were incredible. I looked at Eleanor across the patio. I saw it in her eyes. We were thinking the same thing. We could help our grandkids more. Maybe take that trip we always talked about. That look was our yes. We said we were in. At first it seemed fine. We got statements, small gains. Julian called it proof of concept. We got excited. We moved more money over, taking it from our old safe accounts. Then the statements got vague. Then they came late. I'd call Julian. He was always calm. "Illiquidity is the price of premium returns, Arthur. Be patient." I believed him. I used his words to calm Eleanor down when she worried. But our daughter Clara wasn't so easy. She'd ask questions. "Dad, have you seen the actual paperwork?" I couldn't answer her properly. The first real crack came from my friend Ben. He called me, his voice shaky. His son is an accountant. The kid looked up the fund's address. It was a virtual office, a mail drop box. My stomach went cold. I drove straight to Julian's. The friendly neighbor was gone. He was cold. He talked about regulations and market forces, big, complicated words. The simple truth was our money was locked up, gone. I stood on his porch and felt like a fool. Then letters came. Official foreclosure notice from a law firm I didn't know. Our own bills piled up. I did the math at our kitchen table. We couldn't pay the property taxes. I had to tell Eleanor we had to sell the house. The look on her face, it was like I'd hit her. We sold fast, for less than it was worth. We moved to this small rental. 50 years in that home. Gone. The walls here are thin. The silence is different. The worst part was my family. Our granddaughter Lily got into a great art school. We promised to help. One Sunday dinner, I had to take it back. I told her we couldn't. Clara just stared at me. Then she said, "You trusted a stranger over your own family." Her voice was quiet. It was the angriest I've ever heard her. The dinner stopped after that. The phone doesn't ring. Now every day is a count. I count pills. I calculate the cost of milk. Eleanor sits in her chair, so quiet. The shame is a physical thing. It sits on my chest. I had one job, to protect us, and I failed. I just sit here and replay that barbecue, Julian's smile, my own proud nod. I thought I was being smart. I thought I was providing. It was pride. That's the real mistake. Pride makes you vulnerable. Then I got a letter, a class action lawsuit notice. I went to a lawyer's office. Ben was there. So were dozens of others. Men and women my age, all with the same hollow look. The lawyer was blunt. Julian vanished. The money is gone. This lawsuit won't get it back. But in that room, with all those other broken people, I didn't feel so alone. And I knew I had to say something. That's why I'm talking to you. So listen, have the hard talks. Show your statements to a real advisor, one who works for you. Let your kids see your plans. If something sounds too good to be true, it is. Your security isn't just a number. It's the peace in your home. It's the trust of your wife. It's your family sitting around your table. Guard it. Please. Learn from my silence. Learn from my silence. You see, after that meeting in the lawyer's office, I went home to our little rental. Eleanor was in her chair by the window. She didn't ask how it went. She just stared out at the parking lot. I made us some tea, the cheap kind. I sat down and said, "There were others, Ellie. Dozens." She just nodded, slow, like she already knew. That hurt almost more than the anger. She'd given up. The days got smaller after that. My world shrank to the four walls of that apartment. I'd wake up, and my first thought was the number. How much was gone? I'd lie there and do the math in my head over and over. $280,000. Gone. I'd see it stacked in bricks. I'd see it as the new roof we put on the house. I'd see it as Lily's tuition. Then it would just vanish. Poof, like I'd dreamed it. I started walking, just to get out. I'd walk past our old house. New people had moved in. They painted the front door a bright blue. Our door was always white. They had a young dog that barked in the yard. I'd stand there across the street feeling like a ghost. One day the new owner came out, a man about Clara's age. He smiled. "Can I help you?" he asked. I just shook my head and walked away. What could I say? I used to live here. I lost it. The hardest walk was to the community garden. Our plot had been taken over by someone else. Lots of tomatoes. Julian's plot was weeds now. He was long gone. I stood there, right where he first told me my money was sleeping. I could almost hear his voice, so confident, so sure. And I believed him. Why? Because he wore nice shoes? Because he used big words? Honestly, I think it was because he made me feel smart for listening. He made me feel like an insider, a seasoned investor. What a joke. I saw Ben there one afternoon. He was looking at the weeds too. We didn't say much at first. Then he said, "My boy won't talk to me about it anymore. Says I should have known better." I nodded. "Clara won't return my calls," I said. We just stood there, two old men surrounded by someone else's vegetables, knowing we'd failed our kids. Not just with money, with judgment. That's what they can't forgive. I went home and tried to call Clara. It went to voicemail. Her message was just her name, Clara. No, leave a message, just Clara. I hung up. I didn't know what to say. "I'm sorry" wasn't enough. "I was a fool" was just the truth. Eleanor saw me with the phone. She said, "Give her time," but her voice was flat. She didn't believe it either. Then the notice came about the car. We couldn't afford the insurance anymore, not the full coverage. I had to go down to just liability. The man at the desk was young. He tapped on his keyboard. "You sure, Mr. Finch? That's a risk." I almost laughed. A risk? I told him yes, I was sure. Driving home, I felt naked. One fender bender and we'd lose the car, too. Everything was becoming fragile. Everything could be taken. That's when the real weight settled. It wasn't just the money. It was a constant fear. The calculation with every single choice. Do we run the air conditioner? Can we buy the name brand pills? Should I skip my checkup? I became a miser in my own life. Eleanor needed new reading glasses. She was using drugstore ones, the cheap magnifiers. They gave her headaches. I saw her squinting at the soup can label one night. I said we'd get her proper ones. She just shook her head. Not this month, she said. She didn't even look at me. That was the worst. We weren't in it together anymore. My mistake had built a wall between us. She was on one side, alone. I was on the other, drowning in shame. That wall got thicker every day. I'd try to talk to her, to plan. But she'd just nod and go back to her book. She wasn't reading. She was just staring at the pages. I started to feel like a ghost in my own home, a ghost who'd caused all the trouble. The breaking point came on a Tuesday. It was raining. The roof in the rental had a small leak, just a drip in the corner of the living room. I put a pot under it. Plink, plink, plink. It was maddening. I called the landlord. He said he'd get to it. I knew he wouldn't. We were those tenants now. Eleanor was watching the drip. Her face was blank. Then she said, "We had that leak over the kitchen window in our house, remember?" I did remember. I'd fixed it myself, climbed right up on the ladder. She'd held it steady for me. "I remember," I said. She turned and looked right at me. Her eyes weren't blank anymore. They were full of a terrible, clear pain. "Why did you do it, Arthur?" she asked. Not angry, just empty. We had everything we needed. Why wasn't it enough? I didn't have an answer. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. Plink, plink, plink. She waited. Then she just turned back to the window. That was it. That was the hardest moment, because she was right. We'd had enough. More than enough. We had peace, and I traded it for a chance at more. I traded our peace for a fantasy. I sat there listening to that drip, and I realized I hadn't just lost money. I'd stolen her peace of mind. I'd taken the safety she felt in her own home, at her own table, and I'd gambled it away. And I'd lost. I got up and went into the bedroom. I closed the door. I sat on the edge of the bed and I cried. I hadn't cried since I was a boy. Not when my father died, not when my mother passed. But I cried then. Hard, ugly sobs that hurt my chest. I cried for the house. I cried for Lily's school. I cried for Eleanor's quiet grief. I cried for Clara's lost trust. But mostly I cried because I finally saw the man I'd been. A proud old fool who thought he was still the provider, still the smartest man in the room. I was just a mark. Julian must have seen it a mile away. The need to feel important again. He fed that need, and I ate it up. When I came out, my eyes were red. Eleanor was still in her chair. The pot was nearly full. I emptied it in the sink. I sat down across from her. "I don't know why," I said, my voice rough. "I thought I was doing something good. For us, for the family. I thought I saw an opportunity. I was wrong. I was so wrong, Ellie, and I am so sorry." She looked at me for a long time. Then she reached over and put her hand on mine. It was cold. She didn't say it was okay. It wasn't. But she touched my hand. That was something. It was a start. That night I lay awake. The drip had stopped. The silence was back. But it felt different. The shame was still there, but it had edges now. I could see its shape. It was pride. It was arrogance. It was loneliness, too. I'd made a big, secret decision because I wanted to be the hero. I didn't want to be the old man who needed advice. I wanted to give it. That's the cost. When you fall from pride, you don't just hit the ground. You drag everyone you love down with you. And you have to lie there in the rubble and see what your pride broke. And you have to lie there in the rubble and see what your pride broke. That's where the real learning starts. It's not about interest rates or fun prospectuses. It's about the quiet things you break when you're trying to be impressive. I was wrong about what being a good husband and grandfather meant. I thought it meant leaving more money. It doesn't. It means leaving more peace. It means your wife feels safe when she goes to sleep at night. It means your granddaughter knows her granddad is someone she can rely on, not someone who makes big, shaky promises. What my love for them really required wasn't a bigger portfolio. It was my humility. It was me sitting at that Wednesday dinner table and saying, "Clara, what do you think of this?" It was me showing Eleanor the statements and asking, "Does this feel right to you?" That's the work, not managing investments, managing your own ego. So here's what I should have done, plain and simple. I should have talked, out loud, to the people who loved me. I should have treated our money like a family heirloom, not my private project. When Julian started talking, I should have gone straight home and told Eleanor every word and watched her face. When he gave me the glossy brochure, I should have handed it to Clara and said, "Your eyes are younger than mine. What does this fine print say?" I should have called the fiduciary advisor we used to see, the one we stopped seeing because we thought we were done learning. You're never done. The most dangerous thought you can have at 70 is, "I know what I'm doing." You don't. The world changes. The wolves get new suits. My advice to you, if you're my age, is this. Don't perform. Just be there. Your job isn't to be the financial wizard. Your job is to be the rock, the steady one. And rocks don't chase fancy returns. They sit, they endure. Have the boring meetings with the boring fee-only advisor. Make your adult child your financial power of attorney, not as an insult, but as a gift of transparency. Let them see it all. The vulnerability of that is your strength. It builds a wall around your family that no Julian can climb. If an opportunity gives you a little thrill, a little feeling of being in the know, run the other way. That thrill is the hook. Real security is quiet. It's dull. It's the absence of that thrill. Cherish the dull. There is hope, but it's not the kind I wanted. I wanted the hope of a river cruise. Now the hope is in a touch of a cold hand on mine. It's in the drip stopping. It's in the possibility, however faint, of a phone call one day. The hope is that you can stop the bleeding where you are. You still have time. Maybe not years to rebuild a fortune, but you have now. And now is enough to stop. Now is enough to say, I will not lose one more thing to my pride. Now is enough to look at what you still have, a spouse, a memory, a family that might still forgive you if you are truly, humbly sorry, and hold on to it with both hands. That's the real nest egg. It's fragile, but it's not gone. Not yet. And that's why I'm talking to this camera in this empty room. If this story echoes for you, even a little, don't let it fade. Do something simple right now. If you're watching this, hit subscribe. It's not for me. It's so this channel stays alive and this warning sits in your feed, a little reminder among the noise. Turn on notifications so when I post another story, maybe Ben's story, or another person from that lawyer's office, you'll see it. Let it be a nudge. If this made you think of someone, hit share. Send it to your brother, your old college friend, your book club. Just say, "This made me think of our talks." The conversation has to start somewhere. Leave a comment, even just a period. It tells the algorithm this matters, that it's not just entertainment, it's a lifeline. Tell me, what's the one financial conversation you've been avoiding? Saying it out loud, even in a comment, takes away its power. And if your own story is too heavy to put in a comment, use the link in the description. It's a private, secure story submission form. Your story could be the one that saves someone else's home, their peace. We have to be each other's warning system now. Finally, if you want to go deeper, I've listed one book in the description. It's not a get-rich book. It's a simple guide called The Security of Enough, written by a man who lost his parents to a scam like mine. It's about protecting what you have. Consider it. But more than that, consider the cost of silence. My silence cost me everything. Please, learn from it. Let my voice in this empty room be the sound that keeps your home full.